What's going on, everyone? So, one of the teams that I've talked about in the past that I think would make a great trade partner because they have several pieces that could really benefit the Lakers. And it's easier to kind of get everything done in one swoop with one team and one trade than it is working something out with multiple teams and multiple trades, right? Because, all three teams that you might be working on deals with all want Dalton Connect, Austin Reeves, your first round pick, right? Well, you can't trade all of those to just one team, right? So you got to try to negotiate and work it out where you might be able to trade more or sometimes even get a better deal with just one team in one swoop because, teams all have their various reasons as to why they want to get a trade done. Sometimes it's salary relief. Sometimes it's, they really like a player. Sometimes they just want to stack assets, right? Million reasons why teams make the trades in which that they do, right? We also know that Danny Ainge, as much as people go like he hates the Lakers, he's never going to trade with the Lakers. He's traded with the Lakers several times already. I know people bringing up that like he didn't know about the Luka trade and so he'd never trade with the Lakers. He doesn't care, right? There's always a reason why Danny Ainge, and I always think this is funny, right? I always see comments and stuff for years on people like, oh, this team would never trade with the Lakers, right? This team would never, like Danny Ainge would never trade with the Lakers because of his Celtics ties. Danny Ainge would never trade with the Lakers because of this, that, and the other. And he's made like 3 trades with the Lakers, not counting the Luka trade, right? I mean, obviously he's the guy that took on Russell Westbrook, traded for, that's how you got Patrick Beverly, right? Like, again, teams don't care. Right? They just want to feel like they're winning. If Danny Ainge gets what he wants in a trade, he doesn't care. Like he's not like, they already have Luka. It doesn't matter regardless. You're not trying to win a championship this year. So that whole like Danny Ainge wouldn't trade with the Lakers, I hear that every year. And every year the Lakers end up trading with Danny Ainge the last few years. So again, I think Danny Ainge will do it. So Utah is a team that I really do think the Lakers need to pick up the phone and talk to. Obviously, Walker Kessler is now available and on the market, but outside of Walker Kessler, and that's still my favorite center option, I would love to get Walker Kessler. He's the guy that I regularly, these last few years now, I have been speaking into existence, right, and trying very hard, right? I need to start, doing some rituals or something to get Walker Kessler to be a Laker, but in all seriousness, right? Walker Kessler would be great. But there's other guys besides Walker Kessler that make a ton of sense. Lauri Markkanen, personally, it's just me personally, and, let me know if you want me to talk about him specifically, because there are some murmurs. I've talked about him in the past, but if you want me to talk about Lauri Markkanen and break him down specifically, let me know. But personally, I would stay away from Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen would be fantastic. Don't get me wrong, right? You could slot him in alongside Luka and LeBron would be ridiculous. But I hate his contract, and he's just starting it. Talk about a guy that's getting a max contract for a guy that's probably best as a third option. I would stay away from Lauri Markkanen. But Lauri Markkanen is an option. You got guys like Colin Sexton that would still give you the financial flexibility, right? I don't really like him in a starting role. You could make arguments like his athleticism stuff, but defensively, not great. Although he has shown the ability to lock in and be a defensive piece. A couple things about that, though. One, is it because he's on Utah? Right? Great example is PJ Washington on the Dallas Mavericks, right? Not known by any stretch of the imagination as a defensive player. Right? He was looked at as a subpar, not very good defensive piece, and then went to a team in Dallas that was contending and immediately became their defensive anchor and was very good defensively, right? So sometimes it's just the situation. It's one thing when you're on a team where you're losing by 30 every night, right? It's like, do I really want to put all my efforts in on the defensive side of things? It's another thing when you're on a team like the Lakers that's trying to contend for championships and whatnot. So that could be something to kind of keep in mind. John Collins. I would love to have John Collins. I've talked about John Collins on numerous occasions. He's a guy with his athleticism, his versatility, particularly on the defensive side of things, a legit 3-and-D, sizable, athletic, versatile wing. I think he would make a ton of sense. So you could bring in John Collins. John Collins is a guy, you could start him and Kessler, literally alongside Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James. Kind of more of a defensive piece, if I'm being honest. But, nonetheless, you could do that. Colin Sexton's a guy that I would love to have in a sixth-man role, especially with how bad and how poor the Lakers bench has been the last few years to get a guy like that. But then, beyond that, Jordan Clarkson, I personally would stay away from Jordan Clarkson. I know he's been a sixth man of the year, but he's a very inefficient shot chucking player, right? Former Laker. You know, I like the last thing we need is another inefficient shot chucker, right? Like I just don't think that's what we need, especially like again, I'd love some offense and firepower off the bench. But again, I'd rather go get a Colin Sexton. Isaiah Collier, he's a young, promising guard. He showed some real glimpses and some signs. He's young enough to where they might not trade him, but they got Keontae George, who he looks like he's their clear starting point guard. Like he's the guy that really was coming into his own. If they're not willing to trade Walker Kessler, could you get Kyle Filipowski? Right, he's a guy that would give you another young center that had some promise. But then beyond that, you got Sensuba and Martin, and you got several guys on that are young that could make some sense for a team like the Lakers, who really need, yes, the center position without a doubt, right? But also just need some youth and athleticism and versatile just players, right? And and another thing that I see that's like common for people will be like, oh, well, they're so bad on Utah, whatnot. Like, again, it's very different when you're on a team like Utah compared to a team like the Lakers that are actively trying to compete and win. It's another thing when, your role's different, the coaching's different, the expectations are different. Your role as far as like doing the dirty work and what you want to get playing time, it's all different, right? It's why you'll see a lot of times guys will be at team A, end up getting shipped out and sent to team B, and they're just like a completely different player on team B. And you're like, where was this, right? Like, I mean, Lakers have had guys like that. I mean, Malik Beasley is a great example. Malik Beasley, pre-Lakers was like one of the best three-point shooters in all of basketball, comes to the Lakers, literally is the worst three-point shooter in all of basketball, and then leaves the Lakers, and immediately becomes one of the best three-point shooters in all of basketball again, right? Because again, it's the expectations, it's the bright lights, it's the role, it's all of those factors, right? So even guys that don't look great on Utah, or, I'm not saying trade for a bunch of bums and scrubs, but it's also the cost, right? Like if you can get young guys that have athleticism and versatility, right? Like it's hard when you're on a team like Utah and you don't have a Luka setting you up, right? And you're inexperienced and you're trying to figure stuff out. It's hard when you don't have those clear-cut, here are your top guys, here's the pecking order, right? When you got guys just kind of running around and scrambling. It's a very big difference compared to a team, like the Lakers that have those guys that are like, hey, I just need you in your spot. I just need you to, play off. I need you to do this. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. I'll take care of the rest. Right? Like Utah is a team that doesn't have that. So, I mean, there's even guys like, like a Taylor Hendricks, right? Like these guys that, are show some promise that could maybe come in and play a role for you, that give you some youth that you can continue to grow and develop, but also, can kind of fill the void and fill the hole that you need, right? Like Hendricks is a guy that, is 6'9", versatile forward. Can you get him with like a Walker Kessler and, a John Collins, right? Now you got two guys that give you versatile wing depth. One guy is still incredibly young. Another guy that is still young enough, right? He's not, 32 or anything, right? Guy that's young. And then you get a guy in a Walker Kessler that can come in, slot in, play a role, be that foundation and centerpiece, franchise center for that. Like if you could do something like that, that'd be great, right? Or, again, get an Isaiah Collier who, has familiarity with Bronny, but like, also just gives you another sizable, 6'3" point of attack guard that can do multiple things, that great for himself, great for others, right? Like just Lakers need obviously the center position resolved, but you need youth, you need athleticism, you need, yes, I'm fine with some vets. I'm fine with, if you get a Walker Kessler, and then if you were to sign a Clint Capella or a Brook Lopez in a backup role, fine, right? Like you want balance. You want a nice balance of youthfulness and veteran, right? Like but the Lakers need athleticism. They need guys that can chase down and get those 50-50 balls, that can do the dirty work, do the hustle plays, play a role, right? But still be young enough to maybe evolve and emerge into, a blue chip role guy, or, a guy that right now maybe is coming in and is like the seventh guy on the bench, 2 years from now is now your fourth guy in the starting unit, right? And it's like, man, that's the guy, or, the third guy in a starting, like you never know that gem, right? But Utah has a couple vets that make a ton of sense for the Lakers. Utah has a ton of, again, young players that, they're going to have to make some decisions on. They're going to have to make some choices on, right? Like they're going to have to make some trades and some moves sooner rather than later. Some of these guys are, a year out from a new contract. Some guys are, are going to be doing like Walker Kessler. They're going to have to figure, are they paying him? What are they going to do? Right. So again, like the Lakers could benefit from a team like Utah that's like, hey, we're open to anything, right? Let's hear it. Bring them in, right? And the Lakers can have those conversation dialogue. Again, if you can land 2, 3, 4 guys from a team like Utah, sign me up. But as always, this is a discussion, so I'll pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you like this video, hit that like button. Helps with that. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.